Fanfiction. It's been around longer than you think, and it's had a lot more drama in its history than you'd think. But before getting into the history, I'll go over some basic terms to prevent anyone from getting confused. Fanfiction, a work of fiction based off a previously existing piece of media written by a fan of that piece of media. Self-explanatory. Also commonly called a fanfic or simply a fic. Fandom, a community of fans of a piece of media, also called a fan base by some people. Canon, the official story or content for a piece of media. Fanzine, a print magazine made by amateur creators, usually a collaborative effort amongst many people in a fandom, shortened to zine. Ship, a romantic pairing of two characters in a piece of media. Slash or slash fic, a term used to describe romantic or sexual fanfiction focusing on a relationship between two characters of the same sex. Slash is commonly used for pairings of two male characters, while fem slash is the term for pairings of two female characters. A slash pairing would be a same-sex pairing in fanfic. Het, a heterosexual pairing in fanfiction, not always dirty, unlike slash. RPF, real person fiction. Self-explanatory, this is fanfiction written about real people such as internet personalities, singers, or actors instead of being written about characters. Fanfic about characters would be FPF or fictional person fiction. Now that everyone's hopefully a little less confused in advance, let's get into the actual history. In the beginning, there were zines and Star Trek. Of course, it was Star Trek. When is it not Star Trek? Okay, well, technically fanzines have been around since science fiction literature fandom way back in the 1930s, but fanfiction as we know it has been around since the Star Trek fandom era of the 60s and 70s when media fandoms were becoming more of a thing. Very early media fandom zines were actually different than modern fanfiction too, though, as they commonly held facts and informational tidbits about what they were published about, such as Star Trek. Wow, can I really not use any examples other than Star Trek? Well, to be fair, they were like the granddaddy of modern fandom anyways. Zines quickly evolved into a variety stew of both factual and fictional works, with fiction about the media in question quickly becoming the central focus of zines over facts and essays and analyses. By the late 1970s, there were so many zines published in the Star Trek fandom that ad zines, or zines whose purpose was to advertise other zines in the fandom, were becoming commonplace. Man, even in the 70s we had an abundance of fic. Well, I say in abundance, it was still not the most well-known thing out there by a long shot. In fact, fanfiction didn't really start becoming well-known until the oldest uses for computers for the sharing of fanfiction actually predates the modern internet, as fanfiction started being shared through a system called Usenet in the late 1980s. Usenet, created in 1980, was sort of an internet forum before internet forums were a thing that existed. Now to the proper internet era, the years after Usenet, and the explosion of fanfiction as we know it. This explosion of fanfiction across the web was coined the Great Schism by Tumblr user MadModlingos, and people ran with it. In the era of the Great Schism, there was no Google, and people found their fix by hopping from obscure link to obscure link. Sort of like the YouTube rabbit hole, but with more dial-up and bizarre site formatting. Sounds simultaneously fun and horrific. And you know how the early fanfic era had Star Trek? The X-Files was to early internet fandom what Star Trek was to zine-era fandom. It also helped birth the dawn of shipping. Well, at least shipping named shipping. Concept of wanting to see two characters being romantic or doing the you-know-what has been a part of fandom forever. Term shipping was born from people in the X-Files fandom who wanted to see main characters Fox Mulder and Dana Scully get together. These fans were called relationshippers or shippers. Another way fanfiction was distributed through the internet days is the 80s through the 90s was through mailing lists. Kind of like how back in the 70s fanfics were set out in the mail on their own or via zines, mailing lists sent out fanfic to fans, but now it's even more straightforward and easy to get to what you wanted. Just join an e-group for your fandom, get fic for your ship straight to your virtual door. Granted, people were, shipping it too. And then there was GeoCities. GeoCities was build your own site platform where you had to code it your darn self. Despite the daunting task of coding your own site, at least it was only in HTML, GeoCities and similar platforms like AngelFire were ridiculously popular in the 90s and aughts for sharing fandom content. Fanfics had to be emailed into a site's owner if the writer didn't have or couldn't make a site of their own, so the site runner could HTMLify it for posting. Sometimes fanfics were archived to these sites via download links, but if they were just flat out uploaded, people commonly saved the fics to their computers as text files to save precious internet minutes, and to save their eyeballs from the swanky HTML web design of vibrant colors and sparkling cursors. And then, on the tail end of the wonderful 90s, in 1998, a wonderful beacon of hope arrived. Fanfiction.net, or FFnet as it's commonly called, was started in 1998 by a guy called Jing Li and currently stands as the world's largest fic archive. Compared to the lengthy process of digging through sites and did I mention sites, of the past, FFnet was a wonderfully accessible valhalla of any fandom people wanted to write fics for. Want to write fic for your wonderfully obscure rare ship? Go right ahead and post it on FFnet without the need to submit it to a nice little personal archive that might not even exist for your ship, in which case you would have been quite screwed in the past. Fanfiction.net was great, and you could post all the fic you had and wanted to offer, unless it was post 2002 and you wanted some nasty, in which case you were, again, quite screwed, as FFnet still had an NC-17 content ban in September of that year. While I understand their reasoning, they probably got a ton of, "Will somebody please think of the children?" type emails about their /tastic submissions from users. Pretty surprised they made this move. Fanfiction readers love their dirty stuff, and a lot of them are pretty mad to see that FFnet just straight up purged and deleted NC-17 fic. FFnet has always been a site to ban problematic content, as they also chose to respect the wishes of authors such as Anne Rice, who don't want fanfiction written about their works. They also, as of 2001, pre the NC-17 purge, but less controversial, banned fic dealing with real people like actors or musicians, aka RPF. FFnet's rules, aside from the no writing fic about certain works rules, those are pretty widely followed, led to the birth of LiveJournal's massive fanfiction and fandom community. Fans jumping ship to LiveJournal was caused by dissatisfaction in other fanfiction platforms at the time, like the quick-to-restrict FFnet and for-profit FanLib, a site hated for being made by corporate people who just want to profit off fans without themselves being fans or even really getting the concept. LiveJournal, or LJ, was definitely never meant to be a fanfiction site. It was designed to be a blogging site that was easy for people to use. It debuted in 1999, but didn't really pick up with fandom until around 03, a bit after FFnet's NC-17 merging, and around when LJ allowed people to just join without getting the devil, an invite code from a friend. LJ did great as a partial fandom haven, partial blogging site until May 29th, 2007, when the fandom site got hit upside the head with a banned uppercut. This was Strikethrough, a mass ban that got its name from how banned LJ profiles would have a strike through their username on posts. Hundreds of accounts were banned in Strikethrough, having been supposedly reported to LJ by a Christian group called Warriors of Innocence. These accounts and posts that were banned and removed had one thing in common: unsavory content, specifically Chan works, Chan being an outdated term for adult fanfiction involving minors, and incest. So yeah, pretty nasty stuff got banned, but people were angry because A, it's fiction and as such not illegal, and B, technically even if it is horrific and unsavory, it's still art in some regard or another. LJ did remove the bans, but users trusting them to not mass ban suddenly again was pretty much gone. And so, from the fandom ashes of LJ, the archive of our own, or AO3, was born, like some kind of slash phoenix. AO3 is very much a by fans for fans type of archive, as it was created by a disgruntled bunch of LJ users post-Strikethrough. AO3 was originally proposed by LJ user Astalot. Astalot was angry about the briefly mentioned for-profit FanLib and proposed an archive of one's own in 2007. A few weeks after Astalot's post, a Strikethrough occurred on LJ, firmly just driving home the idea that fans need a non-commercial, non-corporate platform for fic. Many people blame the company running LiveJournal for things like the mass bans. And so, in October of 2008, the Archive of Our Own entered closed beta, and later moved to open beta in November of 2009, where it currently resides, using an invite code system to gain members in a controlled manner. AO3 is commended for using an easy-to-navigate sort of tagging system on works, and its easy writer-to-reader and vice versa interaction. These and other smaller features make AO3 a very popular choice for uploading and reading fanfiction in the modern era, even when sites on fanfiction.net still exist and are still used. Nowadays, the fanfiction world is basically an all-you-can-eat buffet, or rather a handful of connected buffets, since there's a handful of fixed sites that are available unused. Many people still seem to start with fanfiction.net, since the name makes it easy to find and sort of the obvious choice. Then if they didn't start with it, many people migrate to AO3, which seems to be most people's favorite fanfiction platform at this moment in time. But wait, this doesn't mean fanfiction is some kind of utopia. It's definitely not, especially not when it comes to what people think of AO3. The site is commonly regarded as a typical case of a problematic platform, for allowing people to write whatever kind of fic they want. Thing is, if it was illegal to write the kind of fics people call AO3 out for letting people write, they wouldn't allow that kind of content to be posted. So no matter how weird and or gross some people write may be, And they're not breaking any laws. This is the classic ship drama, which has been around since early fandom days, which has gone from simple dislike of certain ships to the bullying and harassment of people who ship those disliked pairings. Fandoms has escalated as of late, and it's not pretty. Though thankfully that's not all fandoms, and most people are pretty sane. This has been the History of Fanfiction, everyone's favorite source of free online reading.